Hi everyone, in today's quick tip video I'm just going to show you how you can weld letters that are not originally touching when you type them in Canvas Workspace. So for this I'm using Canvas Workspace, the downloadable version rather than the online version, because in the online version you can only use the fonts that are pre-installed in Canvas Workspace. Whereas in the download version, you can use any font you choose to download and install on your computer. It gives you more of a choice to use different fonts. And to be honest, I've seen this question asked a few times online, and the question always seems to be resulting from a font that isn't a standard font in Canvas Workspace online. I hope that makes sense. So I am in Canvas Workspace for computer. I've got it opened up here with a new blank page, but I am still getting new subscribers all the time. So you may not know the difference between the two versions of Canvas Workspace that are available to us ScanNCut users. As I said, I've got the downloadable version opened with a new blank page. I'm going to come over to the left hand side of the screen where the letter T is, that means text, and I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to left click on my page and that will open this text box. In here I'm just going to type the word summer and hit enter. I'm not going to adjust the size or anything at all, just so that you can hopefully follow along if you have this font already, or if you want to go and download it for free from the link that will be in the description box. You'll see, I'm going to zoom in though, so hopefully you can see it a bit better. So you'll see from the word I've just typed, some of these letters clearly overlap. So the U is overlapping this M, you can see here. And you know, the M is overlapping this M, etc, etc. Now if you just sent this to your ScanNCut machine and cut it, all these overlapped areas would all cut out and you'd basically just end up with like bits of paper confetti if you were cutting it, you know, from paper or card. If you want this to cut as one continual word, so you know, if you want to use it on the front of a card or in a scrapbooking layout, then you need to weld the letters. So with this word selected, just typed in the size it comes in as you type it in Canvas Workspace. I'm now going to come over to the right hand side of the screen and you'll see the icons here. You may or may not have some of these. I've got extra things installed, you know, rhinestones, etc. So you may not have them all, but the second one down is edit. If you select the edit icon, you then get into the editable options. You'll see at the top the size of this design that I've typed out is 9.22 by 2.33 inches high. I'm set in inches, by the way. If you scroll down under where it says process overlap, you've got 4 options. The option that we want is to weld these letters so that this will cut in one continuous word. If we come to the first option under process overlap, it says weld. Watch what happens to these letters that are touching each other when I hit the word weld. So you'll now see, I'll try and zoom in a bit more, you'll now see that where the U overlap the M, it's now a continuous line, if you like, a continuous cut line, rather than having this bit that went into this bit and they would all cut and you'd end up with that, as I said before, paper confetti. So that's weld. However, you will notice that the letter S was never attached to the rest of the letters, and that's just how this font works, if you like, with this word. The likelihood is it would probably happen if you used another word. So before we go any further, I'll just show you. I'll go back to text, I'll left click on the page and I'll type holiday and enter. Now, if I bring this one in, you'll see that they actually all overlap. Again, I've not touched the size or anything like that. This one comes in at 8.33 by 2.98. If you came down under the edit menu and went to weld in this particular instance, they would all weld together. So this situation happens not every single time. You know, it happens with whatever you're typing. And this is why somebody might say to you, I used the font Alistia and they don't have any problems. But then you use the same font, but you happen to type maybe something different and you get this scenario. So let's just get rid of that one for now and go back to the original one. So how do you make the S overlap the rest of this word so it becomes one continuous word? So if you go up to the top of the page and go to edit, you will see that there's no ungroup option. So you can't separate these letters. If you right click, you'll see again, there's no group or ungroup option, because this is how this particular font works using this particular word. So the only way to get these separated so that you can move the S closer to the rest of the word and therefore weld it in one continuous cut, if you like, is again to still be under the edit menu, come down to process overlap, and this time you want the second option, which when you hover over it says divide. So if I now left click on divide, you will now see that there's a bounding box around the S and there's a bounding box around all the letters remaining of the word summer, because they're all one object, if you like. If I left click anywhere on the page to deselect and then left click again on the word, you'll see that Canvas Workspace is looking at these two objects. Now I've divided them as two separate objects. So if I click on the S, you've got a bounding box around the S. If I click on the M, you've got a bounding box around the rest of the letters. If I drag an imaginary box around everything, you'll see that Canvas Workspace is choosing everything that's on my page, which is a combination of one object, the S, and the second object, which is the UMMER. So we've now got them separated by dividing them because there was no ungroup feature. So from here, it's really simple. You can either select these letters and move them to the left, or you can select the S and move it to the right. So I'm just going to use the letter S. With it selected, I'm not going to do anything else at all other than use the 4 directional arrows that are on my keyboard, and I'm going to use the right arrow and just click it a few times to move it over until it overlaps the letter U. As you can see here, there's now an overlap. So now we have to re-weld, because again, if we didn't and we sent this to the machine to cut, the blade would come around here, it would cut this part of the S, but then when it gets to the U, it would cut this part and you'd end up with this bit of confetti in the middle, and you'd still end up with 2 separate items. So we now need to select everything and we need to come back to the weld icon. Now when I click weld, you'll see that the section in the middle where these 2 letters overlapped has now been removed, and this is one complete object. If I click off it and click on it, you'll see there's one bounding box which equals one object. So that's how you resolve the issue of using a brought-in font into Canvas Workspace for computer that won't weld all your letters together. So let's just try another word. I don't know, as I say, I tried holiday a minute ago and they all came in already welded. Okay, I'm just going to take the zoom down a little bit. So let's try something else. Go back to the letter T, select it, left click on the page, and this time I'm going to type Apple Lover 53, no spaces at all, and hit enter. I'm going to bring this one into view a bit more and let's have a look at this one. So you'll see here the A is overlapping the P, the two P's are overlapping, everything seems to be overlapping until we get to the number 3. It's not overlapping the 5. So again, if you weld, it will weld all these letters that overlapped, but again, not the 3. So you would again have to come to divide to break them up. I'm going to select the 3 using the 4 directional arrows on my keyboard. I'm going to nudge this one towards the left so it overlaps. Then I'm going to select everything again and go back to weld. And now you'll see they all overlap. So that's how to use a font that you download onto your computer. In Canvas Workspace, the downloadable version for computer, using a font where all the letters, when typed, may not overlap initially. So I hope that's helpful. Please give the video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already do so. Share it with anybody you know that has a ScanNCut. It may help somebody else. And I will hopefully see you in another video. Bye for now.